Parshas Sisa. This week's Parsha contains an enigmatic passage in the middle of the Parsha. It's in Rabbi, which is Perek Lamed Gimel. Starts with Yud Zayin and goes through Chav Gimel. That's 33 from 17 through 23. We're not going to do the whole thing, but a few selected clauses or phrases from some of the verses. So, in probably one of the more famous inquiries that Moshe makes of the Almighty, he says, Hareini na es kodecha. This is Pasuk Yud Ches 18. Show me your glory. We're going to have to figure out what that means. And then Hashem says, I'm going to pass all of my good before you, and I will call in the name of God. This is Hashem saying he'll call in his own name. And I will have grace for those for whom I will have grace, or I will favor those who I choose to have favor. And I will have mercy for those to whom I am merciful. It sounds very elusive. And then in Pasuk Chaf, that's verse 20, Hashem says, Vayomer, lo suchal liros es panai. You cannot see my face. Ki lo yirani ha'adam v'chai. Because a person cannot see me and live. Okay. Then Hashem says, there's a place next to me in this rock. And when I pass, that was 21, now 22 Chaf Beis. When I pass, or when my glory passes, then I will place you in the crag of the rock, and I'll place my palm over you. Very elusive here. And then I will remove, this is Chaf Gimel, I will remove my palm, and you will see my back, but you will not see my face. What is going on? So first of all, what's Moshe asking when he says, Hareini na es kodecha? Show me, please, your glory. What does that mean? So the Rambam says that Moshe sought to know the truth of Hashem's existence. Hashem responds, that can't happen. But what was Moshe thinking? Well, Moshe is the closest to God. He's been on the mountain with God, 40 days, 40 nights, not eating. He's pretty much separated perhaps as much as humanly possible from a physical existence. And it could be that he thought that because he was disconnected in a serious way from the material aspect of this world, that he would then have greater insight and able to view Hashem in a way that nobody else can, because the rest of mankind is kind of entrenched in its materiality. But at the end of the day, the answer is no. Hashem instructed him, according to the Rambam, Hashem instructed him that as long as one is connected to the physical, it is impossible to conceive the divine. It's just not possible. So the Rashbam says that Moshe was not asking about Hashem's essence, but how does Hashem work when he makes a covenant? And even to that, Hashem says, as long as you're alive, you can't tell. So the Yalkut Shimoni actually cites a conversation between Rabbi Yeshua and Hadrian, the emperor of Rome. Hadrian says, is there a master of the universe? Is there a boss? And Rabbi Yeshua says, well, you think the world is hefker? You think it's random? So Hadrian responds, so who created the heavens and earth? And Rabbi Yeshua says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He. And he quotes the first verse of the Torah, Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So Hadrian says, so why doesn't he reveal himself a couple times? Hadrian is thinking as a leader, and he knows that if he does not show himself to his people won't know that he's around and that he's the boss. So he figures, this is my speculation, but he figures, okay, so have Hashem show up a couple times a year, have him show himself to his people will know he exists, they'll fear him, and they'll do the right thing. So Rabbi Yeshua says no one could withstand the intensity of Hashem's radiance. So, and he quotes the verse that we cited earlier, which is, Lo yirani ha'adam v'chai. A person can't live and see me. So Hadrian says, well, if you don't show me, I won't believe you. Not an uncommon objection. People say, I want to see God. Some people say, have him show me a miracle. Hadrian is saying, have him show me himself. Otherwise, forget about it. I'm not going to believe him. So Rabbi Yeshua, a while later, it says it was noon. Sun was at its most intense. And Rabbi Yeshua said, look at the sun and you'll see God. So Hadrian says, who can look directly at the sun? You can't look at the sun. So Rabbi Yeshua says, do your ears not hear what your mouth is saying? The sun is but a tiny fraction of the universe. And you can't look at it. How much more intense is the radiance of Hashem's presence? So how does he reveal himself? He reveals himself when idol worship, when false ideologies are eliminated. There are times at which you can see Hashem's effect on the world. So let's return to the issue at hand. So we understand now, at least, that according to this understanding, what Hashem is saying is you cannot live, you cannot be connected to the physical world and tolerate viewing God. Can't happen. There are some who say that after death, as a matter of fact, the Yalkut Shimoni says that when the neshama, when the soul parts from the goof, from the body, that actually there is a vision of the Shekhinah, of the divine presence, because our verse says that lo yirani ha'adam chai, a person cannot see me while he's alive. So as he passes into the next stage of life, the next world, the olam haba, then he gets a view of the Shekhinah. There are others who say that a human being can never view the Shekhinah. What about this v'ra'isa es achorai, and you will see my back, but you cannot see my face. So the Chasam Sofer says that most events and their causes in the world, big events, are not immediately knowable, but only after the passage of time. And my Rabbi Rav Ahron Soloveichik has written in his book, The Logic of the Heart and Logic of the Mind, when talking about an approach to the Holocaust, he says we can't comprehend the Holocaust, and that it's only with the passage of time that we can perhaps apprehend something, and not enough time has passed. But why is this? So he cites an episode that happened with him, an event. He was at the home of somebody who had some very important art. And Rav Ahron writes that he was looking at it up close. And the owner of the art, the balabas, said, "Oh, Rabbi, you can't look at it any closer than a distance of 5 feet. You've got to be 5 feet away from that to really get an understanding, to appreciate the artwork. Otherwise, you're just going to see detail, but you're not going to get the whole picture." And Rav Ahron says, only after Hashem, who is the cosmic artist, has completed the canvas of history, can the master's meanings emerge and be perceived. The Chasam Sofer takes this concept, which is common to Rav Ahron and him. Rav Ahron bases it on a different Yalkut Shimoni in the same area. He says that an example of this is Purim. The Jews of Purim were V'ir Shushan Navocha. They were depressed. They were bewildered. They didn't know how they were going to get out of this. Now, had they read the book, had they had the Megillas Esther, they would have said, okay, this is the part where Haman makes his plot to destroy the Jews, but actually we know how it's going to end. But we don't get the book beforehand. Well, we don't get the entire book beforehand. The question of whether we can dip into the prophecies of the prophets and to get some guidance is a legitimate question. But the when we are living through travail, when we're living through things that confuse us, that are emotionally distressing and intellectually challenging, we don't have the capacity to understand. Because as my Rabbi taught, that so long as we are finite beings and connected to the physical, we cannot hope to comprehend the infinite. We cannot hope to comprehend the way God works. But we do know one thing. We do know that there is a promise from God, and that is that the Jewish people are eternal. God is eternal. We are not eternal the way God is eternal, but we will not be destroyed no matter what happens. History has demonstrated that. We have been persecuted, we have been beaten, we have been murdered, we have been abused, and we are here. And we continue to survive. We are resilient. That resilience is baked into our identity. And the message of Sisa is, our Parsha, is when, as Rabbi Soloveichik says, when the master has completed his canvas, then we can appreciate it. And when the redemption is complete, then we will have the opportunity to connect the dots and see the salvation in things that look awful. And just as the Megillah records, Va'ir Shushan Navocha, it also records how the city of Shushan rejoiced, and the Jews had Lahudim Hoisa Ora, V'Simcha, V'Sasan Vikor. We were enlightened, we had joy, we had a profound sense of redemption, and we regained our honor. This is the message of Purim. Hold on, we do not understand, we cannot understand, but we believe. What we do understand, if you will, in that choice of the word, is that ultimately for Klal Yisrael, for the Jewish people, there will be redemption in ways that will resolve the failure, our inability to understand, and will bring all the pieces together into the master work of art that the Almighty is painting as we speak. Have a good Shabbos and a happy Purim.